Welcome back to the Wi-Files. In this part of the show, we meet a couple who run a dancing school who are convinced they have a ghost with a great sense of rhythm, as you'll discover. Can a person love a place so much that they never want to leave it, even after death? Can strong emotions like love or hate hold a spirit in a house or a room? And if they can, is that spirit necessarily happy there? Rita and Dennis Cole run a dancing academy at St Mary's Church Hall in York. Since taking over the academy, they're just a little bit worried that they're not alone.
Well, the first I had was when we first came into business, really, and I was waiting for a pupil to arrive, and I heard a tin of money being tipped out onto a desk, and counted up, and it was heavy coinage, counted up into piles, and down. I thought, it's strange, the church come in here to do the collection. So I walked down the studio, got to the desk, and it all stopped. Went away again, and it started again. So I didn't tell anyone about this, because I thought, well, they think I'm absolutely crazy. And I didn't believe in such things happening anyway.
Well, first it was Rita and her mum. They were talking, and they were discussing these footsteps up the passageway, and footsteps coming into the cloakroom, and they sounded money. And I said, no, you've both got vivid imaginations. I said, the footsteps can be related to people walking past the entrance to the hall on the pavement outside and echoing down the hallway.
Dennis's reaction was a normal one. Surely these events must have a logical explanation. That would have been a convenient answer to the problem, were it not for the fact that these kept on happening.
We have a metal coat reel with coat hangers on it, and we hear the coat hanger being removed, then we hear it being replaced, and then you just see the coat hanger swinging.
Yeah, what could you do but leave it? There was, let's say, two couples, and Rita and I, there's 6 of us here. We all heard the same thing. We're all in here hanging there with bated breath, waiting to see who it was. Of course, there's just no one there.
I used to take a couple called Clive and Denise for lessons. And they used to have a lesson at 5:30. Then they used to go home for tea and come back again at 8 o'clock to a class. And they'd had the lesson, and they were leaving the studio, going down the corridor, and she saw a lady, a very smart lady. So when she came back in the evening, she said to me, who was that lady, that old lady that was coming down the corridor? And she just came after me. I said, I didn't have a lesson after you, Denise. She said, you must have had, because she says, I saw this lady coming in. So I said, what was she like? She was extremely smart, a lovely navy blue suit, fluffy, creamy blouse, and like a bluey tinted rinse in her hair. And glasses, rather thick glasses. So I said, oh. I said, what? So I got a photograph out. And I said, could you see anyone there on that photograph that would answer that description? She said, yes. She picked her out straight away. Well, I think the ghost might be Mary Macpherson, who taught me to dance here in the studio. Well, we always think by hearing the footsteps, and she had a very, very smart walk, very smart. And it sounds very much like her, although I haven't seen her. The descriptions I've had do indicate that it could be Mary Macpherson. And she was the lady that taught me to dance here in the ballroom.
John Mitchell, a local historian and expert on paranormal phenomena, has also developed an interest in this fascinating case.
I think, from all the stories I've heard, and there are many other stories about this hall that you haven't heard, I think it would seem to be Mary Mac, who was Rita's teacher, and then Rita worked for her, and eventually Rita took over. Mary Mac, this was her life. She taught nearly all of York to dance. And she always said, "I will never leave this place, Rita, come what may." I think it's Mary Mac.
We asked local psychic James Christie to come to the hall and see what psychic vibrations he could pick up. Would he be able to identify the ghost of Mary Mac?
Yes. Sensing, yes, I can sense different sounds, different music. Here again, you have to be absolutely honest and say, well, you have to separate this from what might be a psychic impulse to what is one's own subjective imagination. But you have the sound of clinking glasses, you have the sound of laughter, you have the sound of the feet creaking on the ballroom floor. And you close your eyes and you can actually see people in one's imagination going through the motions of going through a dance in the 1940s and 1950s. You can see the swirling sketch, you can actually hear them. Over in the far corner of the room, even when I first came in, there was the impression of a remarkably beautiful young woman. I think you might want to describe her almost as an Audrey Hepburn lookalike. A brilliant white 50s A-line skirt. I don't know if this is the ghost of Mary Mac or whatever, but there's certainly a gorgeous young girl from the 1940s and 1950s over in that corner, round about the exit sign.
So, what is it that keeps the ghost of Mary Macpherson at St Mary's Hall?
Well, as the story goes, and the people who picked out the person on the photograph was our predecessor here. We came as pupils to her, and she came to ask us to take over the business. She thought we would run the school as she had, keep up the standard. We hope we have done. And it's strange because she was once talking to Rita, and she said, "This has been my baby." She was a miss. She said, "This has been my baby." She says, "And I'll never leave it. This is when we were pupils." And as I said, after hearing the footsteps in the hall, in the evening we're taking the couple, and I said, well, it sounds as if she hasn't left the place, particularly when this lady picked her out on the photograph as being the person she saw coming in.
If somebody is really passionate about this, then I don't think that they leave it just when they take the transition through from this life to the next. This is quite a precedented situation. It comes through time and time again in a number of different stories whereby somebody has passed on and somebody has died, and yet their ghost or their spirit remains there. There are usually two reasons for this. Either that they are held there by a profound bond of love, which is like a magnet between the two worlds, or perhaps something so totally awful and horrendous has happened on that site, and indeed to the person who has passed over, that in itself acts as the magnet. In this room, for example, there is nothing negative, there's nothing dark at all, and anything that's anchored here is, I feel quite sure, held here by that lovely feeling of love and excitement that was perhaps relevant in that person's life when they were still alive in this dimension. So if you apply that to the haunting of Mary, I think it is totally conceivable that, okay, the lady lives, the lady dies, but from that other dimension, she's like the patron saint. She's become the guardian angel, in simplistic terms, of this place.
I think she'll stay, as long as it's kept as it is, as a dancing school. So it's what she started, and I think she'll be here until the end of it.
I think it's very friendly. And I wouldn't like to be without her. Because I feel when she's around, we have a lovely, happy atmosphere in this school.
Mary Macpherson's overwhelming love for her pupils and her dance school still continues even after death. And as far as Rita and Dennis are concerned, well, they're happy she's still around, keeping an eye on things. And let's hope that Mary continues to stay happy.